Emily sneered as I announced my resignation, but I met her gaze with a calm, unwavering silence. Our conversation had centered around the company's decision to cut labor costs, specifically targeting those they accused of exploiting overtime pay. Tom, too, had seemed all too eager to champion the idea of slashing expenses. A week later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. When I finally picked up, the company president's sharp voice cut through the line. "Who exactly are you?" I couldn't help but scoff. After nearly 4 decades of service, he had no idea who I was? "Lily Johnson," I replied coolly, 59 years old, 37 years with the company since I graduated college. I've managed 45 clients in administrative and tax services, handling work that keeps company presidents like yourself from drowning in paperwork. Despite the overwhelming workload, even with a part-timer's help, I had never once allowed myself to falter. Our clients had been with us for years, and their trust in me was not something I could afford to betray. Yet, sitting at my desk now, I felt the weight of Tom and Emily's relentless harassment pressing down on me. Tom, 7 years my junior, had changed the moment he was promoted to head of the tax department 3 months ago. His former courtesy vanished, replaced with condescension. Every interaction became a battle. If I questioned him, he dismissed me, telling me to check the manual before warning me against unnecessary actions. Emily, his assistant, followed his lead, constantly criticizing my efficiency and mocking my position. Neither of them knew that I had once been offered the very promotion Tom now held, an offer I had declined. Instead, I had committed myself to the work I did best. But that wasn't enough for them. Tom accused me of inflating overtime hours, calling it a waste. Emily echoed his words with an exaggerated sigh, claiming my overtime dragged down the entire department's performance. Ironically, it was Tom himself who had caused my latest stretch of long hours. Without warning, he dumped an entire month's worth of client files on my desk, expecting them to be processed by the end of the month. At the end of the workday, I stared at the mountain of paperwork, my face growing pale. "Wait, these are all due this month, aren't they?" I murmured, realization sinking in. But before I could say another word, Tom was already packing up for the night, uninterested in my predicament. "I'm heading out, take care," he said with a smug grin before walking away. Emily followed close behind, throwing me a mocking laugh over her shoulder. I exhaled heavily, flipping through the files. Some of these weren't even my responsibility, they had originally belonged to Emily. And then, it clicked. Tom wanted me gone. My years of experience meant my colleagues still turned to me instead of him when they had questions. His cold demeanor and lack of leadership skills had left him unapproachable, and aside from Emily, few were willing to deal with him. Emily, on the other hand, had her own motives. She was eager to stay in Tom's good graces, knowing he favored younger female employees. Her harassment wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Despite it all, I had no choice but to handle both my usual tax declarations and the mountain of extra work dumped on me. I could stay late, but claiming overtime would only give Tom and Emily more ammunition against me. Then, unexpectedly, I was summoned to the president's office. The company had recently undergone a leadership change after the former president fell ill. His son had taken over, but he knew little about the inner workings of our department. As I stepped inside, I immediately noticed Tom and Emily standing off to the side, smug smiles on their faces. And then, the president dropped a bombshell. "Lily, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month." My mind reeled. Excuse me? Tom and Emily had accused me of overbilling for overtime. They pointed out that while others had clocked around 15 hours, I had logged over 80. The president, oblivious to the real circumstances, seemed impressed by Tom and Emily's supposed efficiency. But the truth was obvious, I had been working extra hours to clean up their mess. If I exposed Tom's instructions, it would only be turned against me, painted as my own failure to manage time. I took a deep breath and presented the facts. I haven't overbilled. The workload simply exceeds what can be done within regular hours. The president sighed, rubbing his temples. Even so, we can't keep someone who works at such a slow pace. His mind was made up. After 37 years of loyalty, I was being cast aside without a second thought. My dedication meant nothing. The countless extra hours I had put in to keep things running smoothly had gone completely unnoticed. And now, I was being forced out, while the ones who had caused this mess stood by and smiled. I agreed to resign at the end of the month, reaffirming the decision I had already communicated to the president. As I glanced at Tom and Emily, their smug, Satisfied smiles made my stomach turn. As I left the president's office, Emily couldn't resist a final jab. "Thanks for quitting," she sneered, her voice dripping with mockery. I met her gaze with silent indifference. Unfazed, Tom, too, shot me a look of approval, praising the company's initiative to cut labor costs, his way of reinforcing the accusation that I had been exploiting overtime pay. Watching them revel in their supposed victory, I turned my focus to wrapping up my duties. I meticulously prepared documents for all my clients, ensuring smooth handovers. I scheduled farewell meetings with those I could, and for the rest, I wrote letters detailing their next point of contact. Though I had wanted to meet with the president one last time, circumstances made it impossible. A letter would have to suffice. 1 week after my resignation, as I was finally settling into a moment of peace at home, my phone rang. Seeing the company's name on the screen, I hesitated. I had already completed my social insurance paperwork. There was nothing left for me there, but the calls persisted, not just from the company, but from Tom and Emily's personal numbers as well. Annoyed, I finally answered. The president's urgent voice came through. "Who exactly are you?" I smirked. "Just an unemployed lady who resigned, nothing more." But his desperation was unmistakable. He hurriedly explained the chaos that had unfolded since my departure. 49 clients had called to cancel their contracts with the company. His tone was panicked, almost pleading. Reluctantly, I got up and made my way back to the office. When I arrived, I found Tom and Emily waiting, their faces drained of color, dark circles under their eyes. It was a stark contrast to their smug expressions the last time I saw them. Tom shot me a glare. "Since you left, we've been flooded with calls canceling transactions, not just from your clients, but even from potential new ones. What did you do?" Emily, looking equally rattled, echoed his suspicion. "You must have pulled something behind the scenes," she accused, as if she couldn't fathom another explanation. I sighed. I hadn't done anything underhanded, but I had a strong hunch as to why this was happening. Before I could respond, Tom's frustration boiled over. "Enough, we're going to the president's office now." Without waiting for my consent, he grabbed my arm and practically dragged me there, Emily trailing behind. Inside the office, the president met my gaze with a seriousness that made it clear, this was no ordinary conversation. Tom wasted no time. "President, I brought her." His tone was filled with an air of misplaced authority. Emily chimed in quickly, eager to back him up. The president ignored their theatrics and got straight to the point. "Lily, can you explain why transactions have stopped since your departure?" I took a deep breath. "Our clients never actually needed us to manage their taxes," I said plainly. "There are tax accountant firms that offer cheaper services. They stayed with us because of me." Tom scoffed. "You really think you're that important?" Emily crossed her arms. "Talk about an inflated ego." I remained unfazed. I didn't just process taxes, I provided tailored tax-saving strategies for each client. That personal approach kept them loyal. Tom waved me off dismissively. "Inefficient. We follow standardized procedures. That's how a real company operates." The president sighed, rubbing his temples. "Actually." His voice carried weight, signaling that something significant was about to be revealed. "I received a call from my father," he continued, "the former president. Several of the clients who canceled went directly to him, asking for you back." I blinked, surprised. I hadn't expected my clients to go that far. "My father made it clear, our tax department thrived because of your expertise. Not only did you manage your own clients efficiently, but you also helped support others. He told me that had you accepted the promotion, you would have held a position higher than department head by now." Silence fell over the room. The president exhaled, his expression heavy with regret. "I made a mistake in letting you go." Emily's eyes widened in shock. The idea that I could have been her superior seemed to shake her. Then, the president turned to me. "Would you consider revoking your resignation? According to my father, you're indispensable to this company." I hesitated. His words were flattering, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to return. Tom, sensing the tide turning against him, lashed out. "This is ridiculous." His voice wavered between anger and desperation. "Why her? I'm the department head." Emily jumped in, quick to defend him. "Tom has been leading the tax department perfectly. You can't just replace him." The president's gaze hardened. "Leading? If that's the case, why have I received countless complaints from the tax department since Lily left?" Tom's face paled. The president continued, his voice sharp. "I've learned that you've been pushing your own responsibilities onto others, including Emily's work. which should never have fallen under anyone else's jurisdiction. Emily's mouth fell open in disbelief. Wait, what? The president turned to her. Yes, Emily, while you were busy backing Tom, he was unloading his workload onto you too. A stunned silence filled the office. And for the first time, Tom had nothing to say. Tom had once accused me of being a salary thief. Now, watching his pale expression, I couldn't help but find the irony amusing. The president continued, his voice firm as he revealed another layer of misconduct, an alleged leak about Tom and Emily's romantic involvement. Tom stiffened. He tried to defend himself, insisting he was merely mentoring Emily as her superior. The president, unimpressed, placed a stack of receipts from the accounting department on the desk. Care to explain these dining expenses you filed under company claims? Tom's face turned red, sweat beading at his temple. He stammered but couldn't provide a coherent excuse. Emily, too, turned ghostly pale as the accusations stacked up. Not only had they neglected their duties and inflated expense claims, but they had also violated company policy by carrying on an affair while married to other people. The president didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His next words cut through the air like a final verdict. You're both fired, effective immediately. Tom and Emily froze. Then, as reality set in, they scrambled to resist. We'll retract the receipts, Tom blurted out. Emily quickly followed, her voice shaking. Please, we'll take full responsibility, we just need our jobs. Tom's desperation deepened. I have a family, he pleaded. Emily, her pride crumbling, promised to apologize, not just to me, but to everyone they had burdened. She finally acknowledged what she had done, the neglect, the manipulation, the workplace harassment. Now, facing the consequences, she begged for a second chance. I sighed and looked at them with mild pity. Why don't you stop resisting? It's undignified. Tom's head snapped toward me, his eyes filled with resentment. Shut up. What would a single person like you understand? I chuckled. Tom, you were the one who got me fired. This is just karma. What goes around comes around. Maybe it's time you take responsibility for your actions. He clenched his jaw and looked away. Emily bit her lip, her body trembling. I turned back to the president. There's more. Both Tom and Emily instantly panicked. You don't have to, Emily started, but I raised a hand to silence her. Wrongdoings always come to light, I said evenly. Face reality before it gets even worse. At that, both of them collapsed to their knees, their resistance shattered. The president made his final call, termination, with immediate effect. Later, I revealed more of their misdeeds. Tom had faked business trips to spend days alone with Emily. Together, they had systematically harassed employees they disliked, pressuring them into quitting. They assigned impossible tasks, changed deadlines on a whim, and made sure those they targeted felt isolated and powerless. I had tried to help those employees before, but Tom and Emily were relentless, doing their dirty work outside of my sight. Many of their victims had suffered in silence. The president, livid, announced that Tom and Emily's final salaries would be cut. He also ordered a full audit of past expense claims. Tom's face contorted with despair. Please, don't cut my salary, his voice cracked. My family, they need the money. But the damage was done. As investigations unfolded, the full truth surfaced. Tom's affair with Emily led to his divorce. His wife demanded compensation, and legal battles ensued. Their professional lives crumbled, too. The tax industry was a small world. Word of their misconduct spread quickly, making it nearly impossible for them to find new jobs in the field. Desperate for income, they turned to day labor at construction sites, a far cry from their once polished office roles. Emily called me multiple times, sobbing. Lily, please help, I only wanted a better life, she wept. I never even truly liked Tom. I listened but felt nothing. You can't unring a bell, I said simply. The consequences are yours to bear. Emily's protests faded into more crying, but nothing could change the reality she had created for herself. As for me, I had no interest in returning to the company, despite the president's repeated offers. Once someone tells you to leave, there's no reason to go back. Instead, I found solace working at a friend's tax office. The pace was relaxed, the atmosphere free from toxic politics. I supplemented my income, but more importantly, I rediscovered my love for the work itself. And perhaps, one day, I would open my own firm, a place where I could serve my clients on equal footing, free from bureaucracy and office games. This was the start of something new. A second life. And I couldn't wait to see where it led.